You are watching Two Amigo Tuesday. Welcome to our live broadcast here tonight on Tuesday. We are here to make your Tuesday just a little bit more lively as you are doing your scrolling through Facebook. So today we are going to be talking about anger. We are going to be talking about the benefits of anger. And my friend, when she told me about this, I was thinking, oh my goodness, the benefits of anger? What the heck? Like, to me, anger seems to be one of those like negative emotions, right? So I'm very excited to hear what she has to say, to share with us about the benefits of anger. So listen, if you are enjoying our shows, please click on the notification on my page. So next time when we're on, you are able to see when we go live. All right. Awesome. So here we go. The benefits of anger. My goodness. We are going to be joining live with us today the beautiful Miss Katie Close. Katie is a life coach, and I would consider her to be an expert in emotional health. And she just has an incredible heart for people in addiction, but really genuinely just for everybody, and really seeing people living the fullness of their hearts. Katie has been in nonprofit work for the last 20 years. She has helped senators run some of their campaigns. And I'm just really, really so excited for her stepping on this new journey of this organization starting called Art of the Heart. But listen, before we get on with Katie, I want to ask you a question tonight. What angers you? I'm sure we're going to have some excellent answers to that. Well, let me tell you, my thing is, well, I have kids, so that's kind of a daily thing. But the other thing that really gets me is checkout lines and people jumping ahead in the queue. Woo, baby, I got to just hold on. Like, okay, put my poker face on. Just be like, oh, that's fine. When actually inside I want to be very, very upset. So share with us what angers you there in your comment section. Let's say hi. Let's see who's on here today. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Thanks for all the likes. Woohoo! Luciana Barros. Tudo bem, querida? Bem-vindo. That's our Brazilian friends. Tayani, welcome, honey. Bem-vindo, amigos. Okay, here we go. You ready for the beautiful, the fantastic, the awesome Katie Close? Let's see. You're ready? 3, 2, 1. You ready, babe?
I'm ready. I'm angry. I'm not angry. Not really, but I can get there. I can do that.
Oh my gosh. What angers you, Katie? Tell us.
What angers me? You know, I think the most anger that I was aware of was self-directed anger. And that was a tough one. So like if I don't get enough done during the day, or if I don't feel like I have things put together right, like I can use a lot of self-directed anger, which doesn't quite have as many benefits, but it does. There's some, but it can be overdone. So we're gonna discern here what has benefits and what actually has some negative consequences. But I think people are more familiar with negative consequences and they lose sight of the benefits of anger. So.
Right. So listen, let's just jump into you just sharing with everybody kind of your heart, like what is Art of the Heart? Where is it coming from? Who are you? Why is this so important?
Right. Who is this lady? And why is she so fantastically, beautifully wonderful? Thank you for the intro.
Yes.
Well, I think, you really described me fairly well. I've been in nonprofit work for 20 years because nonprofit work has its own reward, right? We're giving, we're seeing what's possible in the transformation of people or cities or political systems, neighborhoods. And so I've lived in a lot of different communities to see what was possible in those communities. And I value the political system and different educational systems. I have a degree in education. And so all these systems are really good and useful. But I also feel like the heart is what it's all generated from. The heart is like the life spring, the essence of what we bring forth. And so as I wanted to see more effective, more long-lasting change in people and in myself, that made me deeply curious about my own heart and soul. And I think in our culture, we lose sight of the heart and soul, even while we're in the midst of doing really generous or great projects. The heart and soul is the life, it's the essence. And there are some ways to reclaim that, because most of us have just neglected it and maybe haven't even been really trained on how to access the full benefits of all that goodness you've got deep within you.
Right, exactly. Well, listen, I just shared a link on Facebook because we are actually going to accept you on with us live if you have the courage. So go there on the link, click on it. If you have a question for Katie, download the app. And she's like, listen, download the app, go out of the app, come back in the app, click on the link. It's actually very easy. It seems a little hard. But the cool thing is you can come on live and you can ask her some questions. All right, so we already have some people here in our lobby waiting to ask questions. Woohoo! Yeah. But listen, let's get some questions.
The angrier, the better. The
angrier they are. Come on.
We love angry people around here.
I know. So listen, I just want to do a shout out because we had some awesome people, Katie, who shared our video last week. And I said, listen, if you share this video, we are going to be calling you out. It's a little shout out for them, right? So big shout out for Nicole Kennedy, whoop, whoop, for sharing our video. And Adriana Maria, thank you, darling. Thank you. We are gracias. We are very, very grateful for that. All right, Katie, you ready for questioning?
Yeah, let's rock it.
Okay, get the right face. Okay, so I read your article. You read an article about the, it's called Anger's Benefits, which is on your website. We will share about it later, the link for that. It says that anger is like fire. What do you mean? What does that mean?
Okay, so we all can identify fire as this very powerful, passionate, burning experience. And it can be destructive or it can be life-giving. Can you imagine our life without fire? Well, not really, because the sun, in essence, right, is fire. And then we use fire to ignite things, to cook things, to make things happen. Fire is very useful. And then fire out of control, untended to, becomes destructive. And so we don't want to miss the benefits of fire or anger, while at the same time just seeing its destruction. We want to actually honor it for what it can be useful for. And that's why I think I refer to it as fire. Also, I mentioned in the article that there is this energy that it has, so I call it angergized. Like, you get a sense of motivation because this is not okay. You want to make change here. Your own boundaries have been violated. It's an important, energizing, and powerful force. If used correctly for life, it can be very valuable.
Right. Wow, that's really great. And so do you feel like people have kind of a negative reaction to fear, like they're kind of afraid of that?
I think so. I think anger, unfortunately, has been so associated with rage and violence that we tend to diminish its value and really fear it, because when it's associated with rage and violence, it takes actions that are life-threatening and destructive. And who wants that? Not me, right? I was very prone to push away anger in others or in myself, again, because I didn't really know how to properly utilize it with the clarity and with the appreciation that it could have.
Right. Well, you also mentioned in your article that there are benefits to anger. So do you want to just like run us through, like, because like in my brain, like when I feel like I'm getting angry, very negative, it's explosive, it's, brings shame and anger, those kind of things. But you're saying that there's some benefits to that. Like, can you mention some of the benefits that come from that,
Right. Well, I think the one is that we know ourselves, and any emotion helps us know ourselves. Any desire, any interest, even if it's one that's somewhat unhealthy that we're not going to act on, it's going to help us be aware of what are we lacking in our life if we really look at it with compassionate curiosity. Now, if we look at it with judgment and shame, and it's going to kind of end up buried, festering, and pretty much take an ugly nature, right? Just like if we had any relationship in which we were treating someone else with judgment and shame, that person is not necessarily going to reflect back to us their best qualities or best benefits. But if I honor them, stay curious, stay compassionate, they're probably going to offer me some insights on why they're feeling this way, what's really going on in their life. And from that, there'll be a better self-definition. So the first benefit of anger, I feel like, is really that awareness of a boundary violation. And it could just show up as irritation or frustration, like something subtle, but we're saying it's infringing upon my sense of self. And that's why you'll see it a lot in toddlers and teenagers, because those are key seasons where a person's really trying to define themselves.
Oh, and by the way, Madam is pregnant, and she has some little ones there too, so she knows very well about angry toddlers, don't you? Oh my gosh! I just saw Miss Paula Johnson up there giving us a high five.
High five, Paula.
Love you, girl. Thanks for being on with us today. So yeah, we are on with Katie Close. This is Lize-Mari here on the Two Amiga Tuesday, and we are talking about the benefits of anger. So I read on your article, you said that anger helps with individuation. So what does that actually mean? And how does that help with anger?
Okay, so let's say you are being drug along into scenarios, situations that you don't like. And an important sign is, I don't want to go. No, this isn't okay with me. What I find is actually more dangerous is when people say, that's fine, sure, okay, yeah, I'll do that, Like, can you see the shift that's going on? They're actually entering in more of like a depression because they're not really clarifying for themselves a strong no to have a strong yes. And so we get people who are very accommodating, people-pleasing, maybe even self-direct anger, and that can feed some forms of depression because we're not really clear on, no, I don't want to get drug into that. No, I don't have time for that. No, that doesn't interest me. And so that's an important self-definition. I'm an individual. I want to be part of the group. I love friends. I love groups. I love communities. Yeah. Like, the best way to be contributive to a community is to be yourself. And so to be able to say no gives you the power to say yes. And so anger will show up in subtle forms like irritation or frustration to kind of give you that sense like this really isn't you, or something about this isn't you. And so you may need to define that and clarify that. And that will help you give you a sense of who you are as an individual.
Wow. That sounds like a really big job, especially if you have trained yourself to just say yes to everything or just allow it to happen or
right. And so we'll ignore it, or we'll direct it at the person. So this is what's unfortunate. Anger is not necessarily specific towards a person. It's about an objective. So I'm angry probably because I haven't clarified my own goals, or I'm angry because my boundaries are being violated, or I'm being asked too much. But it's not so much always the problem of the asking, right? It's the problem that we haven't defined it. And so we feel violated in our meeting place. Like, I'll come this far, but I really don't want to go that far. But we don't clarify that. And so we don't know what to do with it. And then we'll blame other people, or we'll get angry at other people, when it can just really be directed at the specific situation you're in. And when it doesn't, it comes back in, stays and hangs around, festers, and becomes something that's like a volcano. It's like fire, but it's melted all this rock and lava and stuff, and it's ready to erupt on that next person that unfortunately asks you to participate or cooperate.
And they're just like, what just happened to me? Yeah.
And that's where people go, oh no, block the volcano. But then we're just, festering increased heat. I think it's really important to recognize anger in its more subtle forms, because then we get to clarify it before it has such messy consequences.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you and I had this discussion one time. Like I was saying, it just seems like there are people who are like slow to anger. Like they just have like this patience, you know what I mean? And then it really takes a long time before they're like, okay, this is it. And then like this, it's like this is, you don't even try anymore. Like you're gonna lose your head, But it's more like a strength in the no from those kind of people, where there are others who it's like immediately, it's like you can feel like there's anger boiling under the surface, and so it's like a match, and the anger explodes. So it's a difference in the way the anger is manifested too. And so it was really interesting what you explained to me why that happens. Would you elaborate a little bit?
Sure. So I would suppose that the person who is patient or slow to anger is actually clearly more clear or self-defined. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of aware of, no, that's not, I'm not interested. No, that's not okay. Or this is who I am. I'm willing to meet you at this point, but no more. And unfortunately, we can even get angry at our kids because we have accommodated them in ways that we weren't honest about. So I really have appreciated the fact that I'm not going to allow my kids to do things that I'm going to resent them for. Mm. So when my kids are taking these violations during the day, and some of it's because I'm just too lazy to enforce consequences or clarify what's happening or when I'm right. Okay with it or not, yeah. And then it's going to hit something where, no, this is not okay. Now, why didn't you pick up anything all day? All day I've been telling you to pick this thing, and it's like, wow, whoa, Mom.
Wait, are you like in my house? Are you seriously like fly on the wall? Come on, can you just... Woo.
So let's say if I was sincerely slow to anger,
yeah,
I would notice the frustration, the irritation, right? And I'm attempting to create lists and a little bit more of a schedule because, as you get more kids, right, it's like, okay, we got to actually be on a game plan. And to have this sense of, this is what I've expected of you. These are the consequences if you don't do it. And it's not as emotionally volatile because I've noticed where the irritation and the frustration lies. And I'm going to require some things of you, just simple responsibilities, but things that now you get are important. When I don't do that, that's where it festers, and then it's going to hit that overflow.
Right. And so this is what you really are wanting to train people in, is to become aware of how you do you, right? Like how your emotions work for you, and learning those trigger points, right? Learning, oh, this is my boundary. Oh my goodness. I never knew that, right?
I never knew. And boundaries are important. It's like skin, right? So like what happens in here is up to me. It's my responsibility. And I said, one of the other benefits of anger, it'll help you own some of your own responsibility. Like nobody can really make you angry. You're angry because there's a violation of what is true to you. And it may even be true to your values or true to your commitment or true to your legacy. We have so much time to live, and sometimes we get angry because we don't have enough time to do the things that are important to us. But that responsibility is ours. Right. And we start to re-own that and shape that. And it's very valuable for that. And that's what I love. That's what Art of the Heart is really about, is people becoming their best selves. And the mission of Art of the Heart is to align people with love so that the whole person can blossom. And I'm really into somebody being whole. And if we lose our boundaries, wholeness is elusive. We're kind of diffused and unclear. And so who are we? What are we showing up as? And what do these things mean to us? Anger will give you some insights on that. Again, I'm not talking about rage. Rage is where we haven't been clear, and now we're just festering and reactive. That's, I feel like, not as useful and oftentimes destructive. And so I would rather somebody get real angry in a session, clarify, and then they go out and with that clarity, rarely, if ever, have to get angry at someone. I don't think that's actually really all that necessary.
Yeah. Well, you and I have gotten angry together. We have done some
we have, and in
just
some of
like,
our sessions would be like, okay, I think you need to be a little bit more angry because we're not being honest about how angry we are, even in a session, right? It's like
right.
we're
You know,
hesitant to own all that.
and it's really amazing at how hard it could be to get angry over something that's like totally unjust, or and you're like, okay, now I want you just to say, just get angry, and you're like, well, I'm angry about this. You're like, really? Well, let's try again. It's very difficult to really say, listen, this is definitely a violation for me. It's like, and that comes to the next question, actually. You said that angry people can be courageous. What does that even mean and look like? Courageous.
Yes. So angry people, in the context of self-definition and clarity, can identify what's not okay with them. And they may even be able to identify what's not okay for a group of people. And so some of our most important revolutions or rights movements have been when people got angry enough to be courageous, to step outside of the norm and say, this is not okay. And the best were done without violence and without rage and without having to violate someone else, to blame, to spew, to destroy someone else. They actually invited everyone in to experience something better. And those are some of the movements that we most honor and respect today. And so obviously, we're not all going to necessarily lead movements, and hopefully we don't need that many. I'm sure there's plenty more movements to be had. But even if we look within our own life and we take the courage to say, you know what, this really isn't okay with me. I really am asking for a different environment or a different routine. This really isn't okay with me. We really need to cut back our spending. I really want to save for something that's meaningful to me. These are difficult, courageous conversations that we may not be aware that we need to have unless we're aware of those subtle irritations and frustrations. Maybe it's at work with a coworker and we just put up with it for so long that finally we're explosive, or we just leave. We don't actually resolve anything. Right. And anger is a useful tool to have courageous conversations. Again, if we use it as a self-definition tool and clarify our own passions and take responsibility for them, we can work out possible solutions where otherwise we would just succumb or explode and react.
Right. Listen, if you are on today and you are hearing something really awesome being said, please send us a high five or a heart, some love, so we can see that something is really like, whoa, that really means a lot to me. So just on this topic, when you were talking to me, we were talking about abuse victims. And you said this, you say, if you don't own your anger, you become a prime target for abuse.
Right. Well, the people who are willing to put up with anything are the easiest to exploit. And a lot of times, if you train someone out of their anger, especially children, and I'm not encouraging them to be angry per se, but to have some self-definition, to be able to say no, and to know what's okay and what's not okay with them, they'll have this context of being able to hold themselves in that place. If they can't say no, if they can't say, this is a violation for me, we're going to find them growing up and being in relationships with a boyfriend, girlfriend, with a spouse, with a boss, with an authority figure, and they have no context for being able to say no, for being able to say, this is a violation, or I'm not willing to go that far. This is an important thing that we actually want people to carry and hold in relationship. And so what you find is a lot of times someone's staying with someone far too long, and it's easier to see it in another relationship, and you're thinking, why are they willing to put up with all that? They'll make excuses, they'll accommodate, they'll actually shower them with more compassion and love in an attempt to win them over. But in the meantime, they're experiencing psychological, emotional, or even physical abuse. And instead of creating boundaries that require that other person own their behavior and them courageously owning their own space, it may be that they're so hungry for love that they're willing to not identify with their anger. Maybe they've been trained out of it, but for whatever reason, unfortunately, people who want to exploit or abuse people are going to look for people that have very little access to their anger.
Yeah. So how do they find their courage, would you say? That would be a first step, you think? That's probably a good place to start. What would be a good step?
For someone to find that sense of anger, you mean?
Yeah, who are in that kind of situation. They find themselves in very dangerous places, or, even just they feel stuck, or what's the first thing?
What I would say is for you to first get fluent in your own anger. So that's what I love the sessions for. But really, the more you spend time with yourself, journaling, feeling, recognizing, when did this feeling first show up? And this is what's important, because some of our feelings feel so intense in the moment, but they're actually got this history behind them. And so it's best to even see, like, where did this first show up? Why is this a pattern for me? Why is this violation like normal in my life? I had some patterns that I thought, I keep putting up with the same thing, not even really realizing it. And my emotions gave me some access to not only the things in the moment, but kind of the pattern that had been established. So I would say get really fluent in your own heart and soul. And through that clarity, working through that clarity, begin to recognize how valuable these things are, these signals are. And before you try to make changes in your relationship, because that, again, is probably going to be more reactive than you like, maybe have some backlash or consequences that you don't like. Mm-hmm. So if you can get fluent in your own first, I think then you'll access this deeper wisdom and deeper clarity that when you're ready to have conversations, you'll have a lot more self-definition and awareness of what is and what isn't okay with you.
That's some really good advice. Thank you, Kitty. This is our last question for you. And then we have a beautiful, very funny, lively lady waiting to ask you a question. All right.
Yeah, lovely. I hope she's a little bit angry.
Oh, it's turning purple. Yeah. So 3 ways. We've been talking about the positives, because we really want people to see, listen, anger can benefit you, right? Okay, well, let's talk about 3 ways that anger can destroy.
Okay, sure. So anger can destroy us if we turn it inward, and in a way that's unclear. We just don't want to be angry out there, because it does have some consequences and it requires some courage, even if we're not being reactive. They're just courageous conversations. To say no sometimes, just a simple no, can feel like a major act of courage. And we might lose people's esteem or value for us. And so we turn it inward. And so start using anger against ourselves. And I think that can be very destructive. We can use it outwardly, very reactive, and hurt other people. I think we've seen enough of that. And, we're very prone to have a disdain for anger, because typically people aren't very skilled with it and just use it in that reactive way. We blame other people. We're not taking responsibility for anything. Or we hold on to anger. So instead of using it through this process of clarifying and passion defining, we actually just stuff it, hold it, deny it that it's there, and it festers into that volcanic eruption. So these are just really, to me, some unskilled ways of handling, boundaries and self-definition, which I totally understand. I was terrible at nearly all of them. So from our own weaknesses, right, we take an interest and we learn some things. And I think that it's so much more valuable to utilize it for courage, for passion, for change that matters, not only for you, but for your community, and to know yourself, because it's going to benefit. When you say a strong no, and then you can say a strong yes, then we get you showing up in your best contribution. So it is destructive if not used properly, but it can really build some good fire for you with clarity and passion.
That's awesome. Listen, we are getting ready to ask some questions from our viewers. So let me give you a countdown here. here in our lobby. We have the beautiful Nicole Kennedy. You go on in now. Hi. Welcome to Two Amigo Tuesdays. And now we are the Tres Amigos. Oh, I love it.
Tres Amigos.
Hey, tell us your name, where you're from, and go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, well, my name is Nicole Kennedy, and I am from Delaware. And my question for you, Katie, is that do you think that sometimes people mistake selflessness as a way to they kind of use selflessness to escape their anger? It's like, well, I'm just being selfless. I'm just going to let this slide. So because I'm being selfless, I need to put myself aside. Do you think there's like a connection between the two?
Right, absolutely. I think so, because what I'm saying is anger can be helpful in self-definition. And if we don't really care to maintain a sense of self, then we will sacrifice that to appear cooperative, easygoing, and then we lose ourselves. Now, again, I'm not saying that we should be uptight about every little thing and always have, but you can see that people take a very selfless approach to life, but then we lose them. We lose their essence. They think they're offering us something really great, which is just being easy or agreeable. Right. But many times what we really want is you. We want you to show up as you. And so if you say, nah, that's not really my thing, but this really is, that really helps clarify. But yes, I think there is something really great about being able to overlook offenses and not take everything so personally. But what I think what you're touching on is this sense of selflessness or even forgiveness. Like we are naturally prone to want to forgive people. We really don't want to live in states of conflict, disagreement, or distance. We want to make connection. We want to find an agreement. But we don't want to lose ourselves to find that agreement. And so sometimes what we say we're forgiving somebody, we're actually just excusing them, and we're excusing the violation, and forgiveness cannot happen that way.
Okay. That's good. That's good.
Do you have another question? Or
can I ask Nicole a question?
Sure.
Okay. All right, good. So I was curious, Nicole, for you, have you seen where you have tried to forgive without getting into the whole process of recognizing even what the violation or trespass was? Like, have you seen yourself maybe at times opt for that selfless, easygoing, easy to forgive personality?
Oh my gosh.
lose a sense of even depth to your forgiveness? Can you recognize times where there's been a depth to your forgiveness and maybe a shallowness to your forgiveness? And can you notice a difference?
Yes. I know I had a friend who was going through some issues in their marriage, and I felt hurt by it because I felt like I was violated because I felt like there was a betrayal between us. But I was at this place of conflict because I'm like, well, I don't want to lose her as a friend and tell her what I really think about this. But at the same time, am I not really being her friend by not being honest? So I'm like, oh, okay, I understand. Oh, yeah, and I'm being a yes to the whole situation. And then I would get off the phone with her and I would go and talk to my husband, Garrett, and just like bawl and cry and like, how can this happen? This can't be right. And he's like, well, did you say any of this? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, you have to say how you're feeling because she might need to hear that. But what I was afraid of was losing her friendship. So I just said, you know what? Okay, I was going to forgive her because, she didn't have to tell me this. And I'm justifying all these reasons why I just need to like push the situation aside and just love her. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to love her. But at the same time, I'm like dying inside until every time I talk to her after that, I'm in a pretense because I'm not even really being honest with her. And so then the next conversation, she comes like, oh, you know what, Nicole, I can go and tell her all this stuff that might not be right, but she's not going to come out and say how she really feels. So the next time I had this opportunity, I took it and I was like, nope, I didn't have all the right words to say, but I'm like, I have to be honest with you how I feel. And I wasn't 100% all the way there, but I did take a step to tell her how I was really feeling. So definitely can identify.
That's a great example. Yeah. And I think that there shows, one, your courage, your clarity, and your honor for the friendship, because you didn't want a pretense. You actually wanted the friendship. The friendship meant so much to you that you were willing to be courageous and take that risk to be clear on, this affected me. Like, I'm a part of this, and this is what's important to me. And honestly, we become better friends with that kind of feedback. So really amazing job, Nicole. Good step.
Thanks.
Woohoo! Well, thank you so much,
Lisa,
Nicole.
can I ask her one more question, or where are we at?
Yeah, you have one more question. Who was it for? Can you hear me? Hello?
I can barely hear you at this point.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, go ahead. Ask your question. You can hear me.
Okay. All right. Sure. Okay. So, Nicole, has there been a situation where you can tell someone is resentful or angry towards you, but they're not owning it? And how does that make you feel?
Oh my goodness, yes, I have. And okay, so something that I didn't necessarily do wrong, but they use it as an opportunity to become bitter and resentment at me and feel that to harbor all that stuff towards me. And so how it made me feel was like rejected, and like, even though I knew I was being manipulated, I still wanted to convince this person that I didn't do this wrong. Like, you have to believe me. Like, we have to keep our relationship the way it was. And so it just made me feel like, well, why are you doing this to me? But then over time, I was like, all right, you know what? I had to get the courage to just let this person be mad at me and figure it out on their own time. And I didn't really like the way it felt, but that's pretty much what I had to do. And it was hard because I'm a people pleaser at heart. So I'm working on that. I'm cutting it off bit by bit, but that's kind of my route.
Yeah. And so how did it make you feel that they didn't communicate with you?
It made me feel hurt, and it made me feel like, well, I mean, you know me, like, I would never do anything. I just felt like it was like a kind of like a jab at my character. So like, I felt insulted, and I felt like, how could you even think that about me? That's how it made me feel.
Yeah. And it didn't give you guys a chance to repair or to reconcile.
And
I think that's where, if someone holds something against another, we're holding it versus working through it. So I can see, thank you for sharing from both sides how when anger isn't clarified and worked through, it actually can be really destructive for relationships and friendships.
Yeah, definitely.
So now you're going to have to deal with me whenever I'm angry. Like, I'm just going to have to tell you how it is. Each other, right? That's how that works.
Oh my gosh. You guys, that'll be funny to watch. It'll be more laughing and rolling than anything else. Well, thank you, Nicole, honey. It's been a joy.
We should have done this with an actual conflict between all three of us. That would have been great. You do something to get me really angry, and then we'd have some real good stuff to work with.
Oh my God. Well, we're coming to the end of our show. Nicole, I'm going to say goodbye to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And shout out to Mama Jenkins there. I saw all the love. She's been sending us love and hearts.
Hi, Mommy.
Wait. Say what your mom always says. That thing she always says.
What?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Come on, Mama Jenkins. Go ahead. All right. Well, bye, honey. Thanks for coming in.
Bye. Thank you.
So thank you, Katie, so much for joining me again today. It's been such a joy to have you on. It's always very insightful. And I really hope that this broadcast has meant something to you, has brought some clarity. If you have any questions, please write them down there, and we will definitely thank you for all the likes there from William Van Dyke. He has to. He's my husband. He has to do it. No. So, Katie, how can people connect with you?
Great. Okay. Well, if you want to get directly onto this article, that's at katieclose.com, and you'll find that at Anger Benefits if you look for that there on my website at katieclose.com. And that'll have a lot of really great information. You can get on there and email me. There's some other ways to contact me. Just if you jump on my website, katieclose.com, you'll find a lot there.
Awesome. Thank you. William Red Dyke saying great job, guys. Oh, I feel the love, baby. I feel the love. Well, guys, it's been so much fun. It's so great to have such amazing friends on here. Please, if you love this broadcast, share it with your friends. Remember, I'm going to give you a shout out next week if you share this video. And join us next Tuesday for another episode. We are having something really fun planned for all the music lovers. So please join in next week. We love you guys. Go out and be angry in a good way.
or at least journal it. Maybe before we send them all out angry.
Okay,
recognize it.
Fun. Okay. Ciao.
Oh, love y'all.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.